item Zinzi. Thanks to all of you for watching this 10-part interview with Gabi Le Roux. This is part 3 and it's time we delve into the actual creation of the monster hit, Nkalakatha. So Gabi, after the success of Mandoza's debut album 925 Zola South, this was his much anticipated second album. Let's first start with the creation of Nkalakatha, the title track of that album. How did the making of that song come about?
He arrived at the airport. I took him for a meal at the waterfront, and while he was sitting there, my phone rang, and it was, I think it was his manager then, Vaughan Eaton, to announce Mpo was pregnant at the time, and he got this phone call, and I handed him the phone and I said, "There's someone wants to speak to you." And that's when he got the news that his firstborn, Tokolo, had been born. So it was an incredible moment. Of course, I took him straight back to the airport, and I said, "Go back for a week or so, spend with your wife and your firstborn, and then come back and we'll tackle this." And then he had this concept of Nkalakatha, but he didn't have full lyrics. He just said to me, "Gabs, I've got this idea of the song Nkalakatha." I asked him, "What does it mean?" He said, "No, well, it's kind of ghetto boss of the ghetto, boss of the kasi." And he sang a few lines for me, I think, at the time, but he never had an extensive, full prepared set of lyrics in that. It was more like ideas, So by the time he came back to Cape Town a week or so later, we went into studio and we started working on some of the other tracks, really. I didn't have music to suit that particular one. We started, looking at some of the other tracks. I was in the control room and he was sitting outside with a notepad and a pen and just scribbling down some lyrics, fleshing out the Nkalakatha idea, I think. And I had this sound on my ASR sampler at the time it's an organ-based sound that I'd been working on for the last week or two while he was back in Joburg, thinking, I like this sound, but it was a little bit smooth, and I started editing it a little bit, the algorithms, to make it sound a little bit more rough and grungy, and roughened it up a little bit. And then while he was sitting outside, I thought, hang on, let me go and fetch that sound. And I brought that sound up, and I just started playing, da 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 da, and then I thought, hang on, and then the riff started developing, and I put the bender in, da 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 da. And then I thought, hang on. And I had this, this nice fat kick, which is the kick that ended up on the song. And I'd already prepared a little loop of that song. And I started playing that loop, and then I started jamming along with it with the bass line. And by then, he came running into the studio, literally with his hands up, saying, "Bragavzo." And I thought, gee, something had happened. I thought, oh, what had happened now? And I switched it off. And he said, no, keep playing. This is awesome, Bragabs. This is big. This is exactly what we're looking for Nkalakatha, And I thought, all right, look, I was kind of happy with where I was going with this little groove, but I didn't realize, it would affect him like that, And then when I heard what he was doing there and how the Nkalakatha lines were fitting with the bass line and that groove, I realized, hey, listen, this is really developing into something quite special, And immediately the vocal booth was next door, and I got him in the vocal booth, and I said to him, right, let's go, And from that moment on, I can promise you the next 2.5 hours in that space, we wrote Nkalakatha. I said, let's start with the chorus. We just got the chorus down. And after we got the chorus down, we started, doing some of the other parts. And 2.5 hours later, we had the basic vocal down for the track. I hadn't had the music completed yet. I took him straight back to his hotel, and then I went back into the control room and started developing the string lines and, doing a bit of arrangement. Brought in that pow, pow, no, pow, pow, you know, those unique little sounds, and you know, those little sounds that became so well known later on. I only introduced him then, and then when he came back, played it for him, and he was so excited. And then I realized, man, listen, we really have a single already. I think when we started with the rest of the album, we were a lot more relaxed and realizing that, look, whatever happens, we've got a strong single already. We did some other tracks as well. We featured another great artist, Magesh, also on another track. It was Skatsewash, which featured him. Verstaan. There were some other tracks where we featured one or two of the other members of Chiskop as well. There was a hip-hop track on there. But none of the tracks really matched that real impact. I mean, those tracks also became famous afterwards, but Nkalakatha was always the obvious single of that album. So that's really how it all came about and started.
Okay, so now you had your lead single and some other follow-up singles to complete the album. What was the next step?
So then came taking the song to the market. And what happened after that? When we finished the album, I flew up to Joburg, walked into CCP office at EMI. Sean Watson was the head of CCP then. We know he's now the head of Sony. It was just Sean and I said to Sean, you know, I think you better sit down. I have a feeling you're going to like this. I gave him the CD and he put it on his system in his office there and turned it up and just boom, da da da, and his mouth just dropped open, eyes lit up, big smile, and wow, I realized, okay, we're in good waters. He feels, the head of the label feels the same as what Mandoza and I felt about it, you know, and then played the rest of the album. And I mean, he loved the whole album, but there was no question about what was going to be the single. We realized that definitely Nkalakatha was a special track.
And so, then came that other magic thing that happened to South Africans everywhere, which set this Kwaito song beyond any other Kwaito hit. It even crossed over from the Kosi and other black suburban Kwaito fans straight into the hearts of white South Africans. How did that unfold, and did you ever plan or expect for that to happen?
I don't know if it was Sean's idea or one of his marketing staff to then take it to 5FM. You know, it was obviously, it went out to the African stations, Nkasi stations, and everybody was just jumping up and down of this new single. But then a week or so after that, they took it to 5FM, gave it to Sasha Matanengo, I think at the time, and he played it on probably his drive show or his breakfast show or something, and it just exploded into the white market. Mandoza and I never prepared for that. I mean, we didn't make Kwaito music for white people, except probably for me, you know. But the way it exploded in the white market, for us, we never saw that coming. It totally blindsided us. And really, we were, of course, very, very excited about it. But we didn't set out to do that, by no means. It just came about as a natural development. And I think one has to recognize that it had a lot to do with the mood of the nation at the time. One of this prospect of finally being one nation, a sense of unity and a sense of a good future with no baggage hanging over us anymore. I suppose the naivety around this rainbow nation and forever happy and walking into the sunset. I mean, we didn't anticipate the type of problems that we are experiencing now, which we have to unravel. But at the time, it was an absolute celebration of unity.
Thanks, Gabi. And with that, we come to the end of part 3. In part 4, we will talk more about the impact Nkalakatha made on most people who heard it for the first time, and the South African nation as a whole. Be sure to join us, and thanks for watching. Bye.